Hello, my name is Sally Pinto, and I'm the Program Director for the Yonkers NORC, Neighborhood Naturally Occurring Retirement Community. We serve seniors 60 plus in Northeast Yonkers. We are under the auspices of WJCS and the Yonkers Office for the Aging. We also have a resource specialist and a nurse on staff. We conduct virtual programming in partnership with the Yonkers Public Library on a daily basis. Enjoy the program.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Like Pam mentioned, my name is Alyssa. I work for Feeding Westchester, and I teach a curriculum called Just Say Yes to Fruits and Vegetables, in case you haven't been to one of these workshops before. Thank you so much for joining me today. The curriculum I teach has 15 different lesson plans that we go through, but they're non-cumulative, so they can be taught in any order, and if you miss one, it's fine. Today we're going to be discussing meal planning. So without further ado, I just want to let you know that it's voice by choice in here. So I'm going to call out and ask questions. You don't have to answer them, although it makes you learn so much more when you do participate. I'll have my phone in front of me with the chat box open. So if you see me looking down, I'm just checking to see if anybody's answered anything or asked any questions at any time. Gordon and Wally wrote, did I hear correctly the other day about Feeding Westchester booth will be in person on Earth Day? Where would that be? I'm not sure about that.
Cinco de Mayo, we're going to have a festivity, right? And Earth Day. Okay, so Earth Day is in April. So are there any plans to be tabling at any festivals on Earth Day?
I'm not aware of it. My colleague did mention actually something about that, but I don't know if that's a solid plan yet. And I don't know where that is.
Okay, so we could stay tuned. We'll hopefully have it listed on the YPL website, or we can make announcements and we can send that out April 22nd. It's Earth Day. Thanks, Mrs. Hanley, in the chat. That's awesome. All right.
Thank you so much.
We'll follow up on that.
Okay. So after we discuss meal planning, we're actually going to be preparing a very, very, very simple, quick recipe called peas and pasta. I would say the part that takes the longest about it is boiling the water and letting the pasta cook. So, and that part is already completed. So therefore, once we get the recipe started, it'll be over within seconds. So that's a really nice thing about this recipe. So we're going to be discussing meal planning today. And I want you to be able to identify healthy meal planning strategies. I want you to be able to name at least 2 benefits of meal planning and snacks. And I want you to be able to plan easy, healthy, low-cost meals. So would anybody here consider themselves a planner when it comes to making meals? If you want, you could show your hand or whatever the case may be, or maybe provide us some tips that you have if you consider yourselves a meal planner, or if you consider yourselves a spur of the moment kind of person. Sally said, nope, need to work on that. That's totally fair. Anybody else?
I do it on the fly.
On the fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that I'm a mix of both, but although I can share some tips and tactics for planning and why it's so great, but definitely a mix of both on my end. How about anybody else? Anybody else a planner? I was recently chatting with a neighbor who actually, they make sure they only do their grocery shopping 1 time per week. They have their all of their meals planned out, the exact aisles that they go down, and they stick to that every single week. So what might be Z said, wow. So what might be the benefit to doing that? I was really so impressed when I heard that. You get a good sale, absolutely. You save, definitely. You save on money, absolutely. Any other benefits that you could think of? Wendy wrote, I don't meal plan, but make various things in advance and freeze.
You can plan your budget.
Definitely. It may include soups, curries, sweets, cupcakes. And they could be healthy sweets. They could be healthy cupcakes or healthy muffins. So that's fair. Definitely. Sally wrote calorie control. Absolutely. And Hanley wrote, you won't overspend. Absolutely. So these are all thank you so much for sharing all of those reasons why you might want to plan. So absolutely, you're saving money, you're eating healthier, you're controlling your portion sizes, because you're portioning out the things probably in advance, and then you're just taking out what you need as you go. Your food, and Reed family wrote, your food will not go bad if you plan it in advance. Yeah, absolutely. So it's better for the environment as well as it's better for your wallet. There's less food waste. There's less likelihood that things will go rotten in your refrigerator. Absolutely. These are all really great reasons to plan ahead. Thank you so much. So could you give me some ideas on things that you might plan ahead in terms of snacks or meals, whatever the case may be? So yeah, absolutely. You could cut up your veggies in advance. You can maybe prepare little packs of nuts and seeds, trail mixes to grab and go. Definitely. So when you're planning ahead, Z wrote, something that you could plan on would be smoothies. Absolutely. And Hanley wrote, what about ensuring that you could mix your vitamins and minerals? Absolutely. So when you plan ahead, you can, as we were actually discussing last time we got together, we were discussing fruits and vegetables and getting your variety and all the different colors of the rainbow throughout the week whenever possible, and thinking of your fruit and vegetable intake in that sense. Am I getting a variety of all the different colors in my diet? Well, if you make a shopping list every week, you can make sure that shopping list has that variety in colors of fruits and vegetables that you can incorporate into each meal. And if you notice that it doesn't, there is always that opportunity to add those things into your meals. Thank you so much. So when we're planning ahead, we want to make our meals simple. So we want to cook when we have more time. So when might that be? So maybe for one person, it just might be on that random day off that we have during the week. Other people might be more consistently. Maybe we want to take a day out of the weekend to prepare certain things in advance that we know that might stay well throughout the week. What are some examples of things that might stay tasting fresh in our refrigerators or in our freezers throughout the week that we could prepare in advance? So absolutely, Gordon and Wally wrote, you can prep things like onions, veggies, absolutely. You could prepare things and cook them in advance, or you could just prepare them so that they're ready to just stick right into the oven or something like that when you're ready to stick them in maybe a couple of days later. Absolutely. So some of you might be thinking, oh, maybe am I going to lose vitamins by cutting things in advance? There will be minimal vitamin loss just on that like first outer layer of the item that you cut, whether it's a fruit or a vegetable. However, I wouldn't worry so much. Most of the vitamins and minerals will still be contained in the fruit and vegetable. So that's something I would worry too much about in case that's something that you're thinking, not to try and be a mind reader. And Hanley wrote, so we could cut big. You could cut bigger, but not necessarily. Gordon and Molly wrote, good leftover pumpkin or ginger. They pulse and freeze like little ice cubes. And they are awesome. You just throw in when cooking. That's such a great idea. That's like those little things that they have in the freezer section, those little cubes of whether it's garlic or cilantro or basil, whatever the case may be. They have those little frozen cubes of different herbs. So that's just like that idea, but doing it on your own. And that's definitely a big cost savings. That's a really great idea. It adds so much flavor to your cooking. Yep. So he wrote that's where he gets the idea from. And it saves money. Absolutely. Yeah. So, and that's another thing. If you notice something in your refrigerator might be just before it's starting to wilt, or as it's just starting to wilt, maybe that's the time that you want to take it and pulse it and store it frozen. So that it does, so that we don't have to waste it. So yeah, it's never a bad thing to go into the store and look at things that are already done and reinvent them for yourself, recreate it for yourself, and use those ideas to help yourself save money. So for any of you that do plan, what are some fast family meals that you prepare? I know somebody mentioned that they prepare soups in advance and freeze them. Muffins. Could easily freeze those, just take them out of the freezer, put them into the refrigerator, and you don't even have to, they could just thaw out overnight and you could just have something that's an easy grab and go item. Any other ideas? Maybe pans of like lasagna. And those tend to have all the components of, you can make a vegetable lasagna with cheese. And even if you wanted to add an animal protein to it, you could. And that's just an all-in-one tin kind of easy meal to prepare, and you could portion it out so that you could take out what you need on the specific nights that you know that you might be eating it. So you want to always shop for time savers as well, because the weekdays can get busy, or maybe even the weekend. Maybe you have a family. What are some time savers that we could shop for? And how might we be able to make use of those time savers and maybe add things to those items to make them go further? Any ideas? So maybe we have a can of soup on hand, And so it's a can of soup that we purchased already. It's not one that's necessarily made fresh, although we could do that too. What can we do to make that go further? What's something that you might find in your pantry or in your freezer? Yep, absolutely. You could add vegetables to it. Thank you, Sally. Add veggies. Can always add some beans to it. And that could be canned beans, but it also could be dry beans. But the canned beans, like if that's just another time saver, you can open the can, rinse it, and toss it right into the soup. Doing this not only saves time, but it also reduces maybe any high sodium content that you might find in a canned soup, because you're stretching it and you're making it actually go further. May wrote, I pre-cut, put together healthy snacks ahead of time for my 3 kids. It's a lifesaver. And her 2 eldest know how to access the snacks from the kid-made safe Tupperware bowls. Absolutely, that's such a great idea. It's always so wonderful to have those grab-and-go snacks made ahead of time. And I always say something that's such a budget-friendly, healthy meal, or like breakfast or something like that. If you know you're somebody that has to be out of the house early in the morning, for you, maybe in your family, just prepare a bunch of nut and fruit sandwiches in advance. And maybe it will be like peanut butter and banana sandwiches on whole wheat bread, just for a bunch of days in advance. Keep them in your fridge stored, so they're just like an easy grab and go item. Great time saver and money saver. And May wrote, why buy pre-cut fruits and veggies? She makes them and puts them into cute Tupperware. The kids gravitate more than chips or candy. Yeah, and absolutely, she makes healthy food appealing. Absolutely. And I think that people would most people might gravitate more toward the healthy options, including if we do it for our own selves. If it's just done in advance, it's the idea of when we're busy, having something to easily grab out of the refrigerator or out of the cabinet. And somebody might just grab something that's not as great of a snack. If it's in the cabinet, they know they could just grab it and go. Whereas if there were something in the refrigerator that were easy to grab and go, they would grab that instead. So thank you so much for adding that. Oh, Gordon and Wally wrote, they have to get in the car, so they'll sign back in. Oh, thank you for letting us know. Awesome. I can't wait till you rejoin. And feel free to, if you're in the car or wherever you are, feel free, you can talk using your voice at any time. You don't have to use the chat box. So don't feel like you're interjecting or anything like that. Okay. So when we're stocking, when we're thinking about if we don't consider ourselves planners, if we don't want to have to worry about planning in advance, if we don't see that as a feasible lifestyle for ourselves, what are some things that we can do so that we have them on hand for a last minute meal or snack that would help us to make cost-effective meals? Definitely, you can freeze things, absolutely. But that would share with your neighbors, definitely, or family. But what if you're more of the person that knows that they're not going to take the time to prepare in advance, and you just like to make things on the fly, or you'd be more likely to order in and end up spending a lot of money that way. Instead of maybe doing it that way, maybe we might just have certain things that we always keep in our cabinets or in our freezer that are better options that we can grab out and prepare. Any ideas? Oh, yep, stock up on non-perishables, absolutely. So we want to have some fast cooking grains available. We want to have any ideas for some that we might keep in our pantry. So of course, if we can, maybe whole grain pastas like brown rice pasta, even brown rice, as much of whole grains as possible. Nuts, absolutely, that would be a great protein source. We could always keep all different variations of canned soups on hand, adding things to, like we discussed before, like beans and veggies, and we could always have frozen veggies on hand. Having different flavoring and spices available, so we can make different types of pasta dishes, even if it's a pasta dish and with different beans, and adding different flavors to it to make it have its own flavor for each night. So Gordon wrote beans, veggies, soup, granola, fennel seeds, flax seeds. Absolutely. These are all great staples that are non-perishable, and so we wouldn't need to refrigerate them. And then other simple items like eggs. Yes, those you would need to refrigerate, but what's a great thing that we can always do with eggs? That even if you're not a big planner, something that you could do just to do a little bit of planning would be to maybe hard boil. Exactly, Sally. Yep, you took the words right out of my mouth. Hard boil some eggs for grab and go. That's a very simple task for the non-planner. Also, so keeping other simple proteins in our homes, like canned tuna or peanut butter, maybe almond butter. Gordon wrote non-perishable milk, like the ones that can sit in cabinets for months unopened, no need to refrigerate. Absolutely, until of course they are opened, and then at that point we would need to refrigerate them. Absolutely. So just always kind of thinking of the different things that we can do to make things go further, and things that have a longer shelf life. So we're not always running to the grocery store or end up maybe ordering in because we didn't plan in advance. Okay. So I hope that you actually received the different handouts that I had sent over earlier to Z and Sally. Or I think I may have just sent it to Z. If not, I sent over some really wonderful resources called Meals Made Easy, another one called Make Easy and Healthy Family Meals, and then Basic Foods for a Well-Stocked Kitchen. These are excellent resources to help you to manage your pantries and your freezers so that you can easily prepare meals in advance. Gordon wrote, also planning helps from overbuying by mistake when you buy something and know where to store it. Absolutely. So what's something that we might want to do before we go food shopping? yes, make a list. And might that list be based on? Of course, it might be if we are the type that would plan, yes, it will be based on recipes. It might be based on the meals that we've planned for the week. Sales. But also, I think, so what I'm getting at is we might want to always check our pantries and check our freezers against our list to see that we're go food shopping in our pantries and our freezers before we actually go shopping in the store, so that we don't double up on the things that we already might have, so that you're not wasting space and you're not wasting money. Okay. So that being said, today when I was looking over the recipe, I noticed that, so it's actually such a simple recipe. It's 3 cups of uncooked pasta, 2 cups of peas, 2 tablespoons of oil, a 1/4 cup of grated Parmesan cheese, and salt and pepper to taste. So I actually realized that I have chickpea pasta in my cabinet, and this is a really great option. Can anybody tell me why I might prefer to choose a chickpea pasta? Yeah, it's a really great option. It's really tasty. So this one actually tells you on the back of the box. So yeah, Sally wrote it's healthier than regular pasta. So this one actually does the comparison for you. Yeah, so it tells you that there's 25 grams of protein. I'm just looking at so for a 2-ounce serving, for a 3.5-ounce serving, there's 25 grams of protein, whereas in the same serving of an average pasta, there's 13 grams of protein. So that's significant. It's almost double the amount of protein in a 3.5-ounce serving. In an average pasta, you would have 3 grams of fiber in a 3.5-ounce serving, whereas in this chickpea pasta, you would have 13 grams of fiber. And Nina wrote, is the flavor of the chickpea pasta similar to what you find in chickpeas themselves? I would say it's even more mild. As mild as chickpea flavor is, it's even closer to the taste of just regular pasta. So I definitely highly recommend this. Another great pasta that you could keep on hand is brown rice pasta. I know that a lot of people don't tend to like the whole wheat pasta as much, the flavor and the texture, but these are 2 great options for pastas that are a good alternative to plain pasta. Also, the carbohydrate count is significantly lower. It's almost half of what an average pasta would be for the same serving. So in an average pasta, there would be 71 grams of carbohydrates in the 3.5-ounce serving. And in this chickpea pasta, there will be 43 grams of carbohydrates. So that's almost half. So some really great benefits to having this pasta versus a regular plain pasta. So always be out there looking for alternatives. Why not? And this is a really great option to keep on hand in your pantry. So with that being said, before we got started today, I, of course, wasn't going to sit here waiting to boil the pasta in front of you. I prepared the pasta, and just so you know, it took about 9 minutes to cook once the pasta was once the water was boiling, to get it to be a nice tender texture. So I have the pasta right here. It's a corkscrew pasta. I'm just going to add it to the bowl. And then we have 2 cups of peas. So these peas are actually frozen peas, but of course, we can use fresh peas, and you want to remove the fresh peas from their shell before preparing this particular meal. Or just again, a quick, simple way to do this will be to either buy frozen or canned peas, which is also fine. So adding those right in. So, and if we were preparing it fresh from the pod, we would add the peas to the pot and cook them right in the same pot as the pasta, just to save some time, and just cook it for about 2 minutes. And then just drain the peas and the pasta together. And so again, you just toss the cooked pasta and peas with some olive oil. So it says to use 2 tablespoons of oil. I'm just going to use this as like an approximate spoon in this case. A little bit goes a long way. And then I would just add some Parmesan cheese. And this recipe is actually good hot or cold. It doesn't have to be hot. It says to serve hot. What's something else that we might add to this recipe? If you want to make this go a little bit further, or maybe you're not content without something else being in this recipe, what's something else that you might want to add to it? So I brought over some garlic granules. Of course, you could always mince up some fresh garlic. I think that will be a really great option. Or maybe just add a little bit, a dash of garlic granules to it. And Hanley wrote you could add carrots, absolutely. Maybe some chopped up onions. But I really like the combination of the pasta and the peas. It's like a nice sort of sweet and savory type of flavor because the peas are nice and sweet. And then we have the cheese added, which gives it the savory flavor. Of course, I think that this recipe will be delicious if you wanted to add some grilled chicken or something to it, if you wanted to make it go a little bit further. Can always add in another mild bean to it. Maybe like a white bean or something like that. Any other ideas? So just so you see, I mean, I'm sure most of you can pretty well visualize what this looks like, but it's a really delicious recipe. Somebody, I think I hear somebody saying something. Did somebody want to add anything that they would like to add to this? if they're preparing it on their own. Any questions that anybody has?
I would add dried tomatoes.
Ooh, I like that idea. Like sun-dried tomatoes, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's a really great idea. Maybe like roasted peppers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Definitely adding more veggies, never a bad thing. Any questions that anybody has? Suggestions, comments, anything? Everybody was very talkative in the beginning and then we got kind of quiet.
We're figuring out how to go make our own tonight.
Yeah.
Yes, right. Exactly, Pam. We may not necessarily have the peas and your pasta, so I'm trying to figure out what do I have now since I don't plan.
Yeah, no, I mean, use whatever. Most people probably, not most, many people probably have some kind of pasta in their cabinet. So please don't feel limited. You don't have to use chickpea pasta. You don't have to use brown rice pasta. Everything fits. It's just a suggestion for when you do go food shopping. Maybe it's just one of those things that you want to keep on hand as a pantry staple. But if you just have regular plain pasta, that's fine. I always suggest like making at least half of your grains, whole grains throughout the day. So maybe that'll be your meal where you don't have a whole grain if you just have regular plain pasta on hand. And it doesn't, this recipe actually, it's called peas and pasta, but as an idea, you don't have to make this with pasta. It could be made with another grain. It could be made with quinoa, brown rice, couscous. There's so many different ways that you could prepare this, and it could really take on whatever flavor that you want if you want to add different seasonings to it as well. Maybe removing the Parmesan cheese. So this recipe is your own, leave it up to your imagination how you prepare it. And if you don't have chickpea pasta, that's fine. Just swap it out. Let's see. Sally wrote, can we bake it? What do you mean by that? I would say that like once it's all prepared, and if you want to add like cheese, like maybe melt some cheese on top, that's a really great idea. Why not? Absolutely. Baking it would be a great idea. Is that what you mean, Sally?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Throw some cheese on top, make it go a little bit further. Gordon wrote, you gave us great ideas. We can make it over and over again and change the ingredients every time. Absolutely. Yeah, that's like the greatest point here is, swapping out the ingredients. I definitely think adding some chopped up onions to this really will be a great flavor addition as well. And another opportunity to add another veggie in there. All right, well, if nobody has any questions or comments, maybe we'll break free a little bit early today.
That was great as always. Alyssa, that was wonderful. And I think people really like this recipe.
Yeah, I think so too. It's a really great recipe. So thank you so much, Sally and Z, for finding this recipe once again so that we could share it. It's so simple, such a great recipe for especially for the non-planner to gradually become a little bit of a planner. Baby steps. So if you wouldn't mind, I think Sally and Z have the link for this, but if you could share it in the chat box. If not, if you can pull out your phones, if you wouldn't mind, and fill out this survey, I would greatly appreciate it. Again, you don't have to fill out the survey. It just helps me to learn a little bit more about you guys and what you're learning.
Hi, everyone. This is Z from Yonkers Public Library. Thanks so much to Sally Pinto and Alexis and Barbara from Newark. Thank you to our community partners, WJCS, the City of Yonkers Office for the Aging, Westchester County Legislator Ruth Walter, Friends of Crestwood Library, and Yonkers Public Library for making this phenomenal partnership. And we thank each and every one of you for being part of our wellness community. Be well, stay well.